Hello, everyone, and welcome to our discussion today, how engineering leaders can improve CAD training and adoption. My name is Michael Roberts. I'll be your host for today. Joining me is a very special guest, Daniela, who is a seasoned CAD PLM expert with SPK and Associates. Daniela, thank you for joining us today. Please tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
Sure. Thank you, Michael. So I'm Daniela. I've been with SPK and Associates for over 7 years now in the CAD, PLM, PDM space, and I'm happy to join you all.
Daniela, thanks for being here. I want to dive into this topic because I know this is an important engagement that you had, and that probably many of our viewers have had some issues and challenges around getting tools adopted, specifically CAD, or even just maybe enhancing the workflows and the systems that are around the tools that are already there. So, what are the biggest challenges that engineering teams are facing when adopting new CAD tools, or maybe even improving their workflows? And how can those engineering leaders help address those challenges effectively?
Sure. So I love this topic and this question. As you alluded to, we did have a project that tackled some of these items. So at a high level that is applicable to a lot of companies and engineers out there, I'll start with the training and skills gap. So whenever you're rolling out a CAD platform, maybe you are unifying and people are switching over to one CAD platform, or you're just making a change. There is that training and skills gap that needs to be filled in. um, this can take some time, and there could be that issue of reduced productivity as well as some resistance to change. So, the way that we recommend tackling this is developing training programs that can really empower your users, right? You are giving them the time to learn this tool. We also do like a mix of formal training, whether that be a vendor-led course, online tutorials, and informal learning. This could be peer mentoring, lunch and learns, where you're learning from each other. Um, Here is a good also kind of a point to bring up with engineers, which is certifications or assessments. This is a good benchmark tool, but also it's something that your users can look to as completion of their training, and that stays with them forever. So very often we see that training and skills gap, but there are some great ways to address that. The other that is all wide encompassing, right, is resistance to change. So engineers, we are used to our tools. We are die hard with our tools sometimes. We do not like to change. And I speak for myself because I'm very used to my tool set. And then whenever I have to change it, I'm less comfortable. I'll say that. So the ways to tackle this would be to clearly communicate the benefits, right? Why are we making this change? Really let the users know and have them be a part of that process. Uh, Speaking to that would be involving key team members to champion this tool, right? To demo it, to act almost as an SME for it, to really know the tool and answer questions. Also, providing a transition period where users can use the old tool and the new tool before fully switching over is very helpful because it gives them that chance to explore this tool while retaining the comfort of their existing tool, right? They're not fully changed over yet. And if there are any concerns, this is a good time for those to be addressed while you have that comparison. Now, the other two we do see as well, which is integration with existing systems. So, uh, when you get a new tool, this may not be the only tool you're working with. It may be CAD that needs to talk to PLM or ERP or a simulation program or legacy systems. So before adoption, before you make that switch over to this new CAD tool, for example, we do recommend conducting a compatibility assessment. Make sure you list all your plugins, all the systems that need to talk to each other, and see if that is possible with this new tool. We also strongly recommend working closely with IT and your vendors for data migration if that's applicable. And finally, this goes back to training. You'll want to provide that integration training for your users to make sure that transition is as smooth as possible. And finally, collaboration and standardization. So this one we see very, very, very often. We have teams across various areas using different CAD tools, and file formats may not always be compatible. We see this very often. A good way to try to combat that would be to establish standard file formats, templates, and best practices. And this also ties into training, right? Introducing those standards to your engineers as soon as they're onboarded. We also strongly recommend using PDM or PLM, right? To make sure everything's in one place. You are know who has access and at what role. And finally, this one is very important to us, and that is encouraging regular feedback loops to improve these workflows. We've seen this be an issue before where something is set up in a company and then it just remains untouched for many years. Engineers may gripe about it to each other, but there's no process to address any issues or any feedback. So we do recommend that whatever tool you're using, especially if there's integrations, if there's a PDM involved, that there is some kind of governance board that meets periodically, and also a way for feedback to be received. Who should receive these comments? Who is tracking them? There should be a process ideally so that whatever is set up as far as processes and CAD tools go, it's a living system that needs to be maintained. So those are some of the common challenges we've seen and some of our recommendations on how to tackle them.
Uh, that is really practical advice, and I love a transition window where you can use both tools. I've seen that approach multiple times, and it usually works out really well, especially we're humans, and as you mentioned, we don't like to change. Sometimes letting people opt in early and then hearing in the virtual chat rooms or even in the water cooler, oh, I really like the new tool, the new system, it integrates with X, and all of a sudden the people that weren't the first to adopt, they're rushing to get there because they feel like they're being left out now, and they want to enjoy the benefits too. So really good advice there. I like that. Okay, so the I know you just recently completed a training project related to SolidWorks PDM and CAD. So what are some best practices that you've seen to drive successful training and adoption specifically?
Thank you, Michael. Yeah, and these are some great points that I think can be applied to many industries. So my first recommendation here is to develop role-based training programs. What was previously in place with this client was just an overall general, here's the drafting standard kind of training. Please read it. Congratulations, you read it. Here's your access to PDM. There really wasn't any guidance as far as how workflows function in this vault. This was SolidWorks PDM, as you mentioned. Or, what are the functions that engineering users can't do? For example, approval that would go to dock control, for example. So what are the constraints there? There was really no definition. It was just the drafting standard. So a lot of the times we got questions such as, why can't I check this file out? We noticed that that could impact some of the users' adoption, right? They were a little less thrilled about using PDM because, oh, every time I log in, I can't check out the file. I have trouble searching. I'm not able to see the right file. If it's not pleasant for the user, right, they're gonna not enjoy utilizing the tool. So we developed role-based training programs that really helped with real-world examples, and they really showed how the permissions would apply to that particular user, what they could do, what they couldn't do, resources. So they knew as soon as they opened up PDM, oh, I can't check this file out because it's released. Expected, right? Let me talk to doc control. Things like that. They knew how to move forward and they knew what to expect while using PDM.
Gotcha.
Yeah, very
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
helpful. It's okay. The other thing we did do, which was very helpful, was we started with a small pilot team that helped go through these trainings. And what's really great here is that they encompass different roles, right? There's some engineers, we had some dock control folks taking a look. So they could really say, hey, this would have been helpful for me to know. Or, I think this is pretty clear. We don't need to include that. Really making sure the people who are in these roles have a say in creating this training. And finally, providing quick reference guides and cheat sheets. So a training you do at onboarding, perhaps, and then you cast it aside, and maybe you are doc control who doesn't go into PDM except to approve once in a while, or you're an engineering user who doesn't use PDM very often. Creating these sort of takeaway guides that users can save on their desktop, save on their computer without having to access that training portal, find the training number or name, open it, scroll to find the exact slide. They can quickly refer to this guide and you can keep them, even on your Teams channels and Slack, desktop, Confluence, wherever it's easy for access. That's a good way to remind users and yeah, make sure that they don't have to go through that training again. So they feel like, hey, I didn't have to memorize everything. Here is where I can go back to in case I need something.
Knowledge is, or brilliance is knowing where the knowledge is, not necessarily having all the knowledge in your head. Uh,
Exactly.
yes,
Yes.
yes, I love it. Last question here, Daniela. So how can engineering managers, and then this group really, obviously they're not always doing it, right? They're listening hopefully to their engineers, but how can they ensure that those training programs translate into that long-term efficiency and improve collaboration within their teams to get the most out of them? Obviously, there's a longer term view of this. So what does the long-term view look like?
Absolutely. So our client, who was an example of this, did a great job without being prompted. They went ahead and set up a group of users who would be responsible then for updating these trainings, right? So you want to make sure this is a living document and it goes through iterations and identifying who would be responsible for this. That's step one, and encouraging feedback, definitely. Right, workflows change, PDM may change, location of templates may change, things that you want documented and you want your engineers as they're being onboarded to know that may update. And that was the case for this client. Hey, they were developing new templates and had a new location, so that was updated. You want to make sure as your company grows and as you improve your processes and your PDM workflows that your training does too. So keep it alive, keep it maintained is a big one here. Um, Also reinforcing learning through hands-on practice and peer training. So um, definitely having engineers apply their knowledge in daily tasks. So a lot of what you can do here is that peer-to-peer coaching, lunch and learns. And a big one that we see in some of our clients is providing sandbox environments to certain users, maybe not everybody, but if a user is very curious or they want to try to do something different, or you have a PDM admin, the sandbox environment is priceless because you're not in production. So it just gives a place to roam and also practice, right? This leads me to the next step of having that sandbox environment and utilizing it in your training as part of your training is also a really good eventual step, right? That we've seen great success with. And finally, fostering a culture of collaboration through these tools and best practices. You ideally want the whole team to take part in identifying what could be better, making decisions for workflow updates, testing these changes. Um, so having even a monthly meeting, right, that you encourage everybody to share any feedback. And then you hand that over to your governance board or your other team and say, hey, here's what came away from that meeting. What should we change? Do we need to change? But continuously letting your users know you are listening to them and you identify all problems that they bring up to you. It's just part of the process. So we encourage not only to set up the training, but keep it going, keep it maintained, and keep users keep users engaged because this is their system as well.
I love it. Love it. Thank you, Daniela, for all that insight. All that I can't like high five all those points enough. +1 to everything you said here today. So thank you for sharing that. To all of our viewers and folks watching this video, we hope that discussion actually helps you understand how to implement effective CAD training and adoption strategies within your teams. Remember, if you like this content, please like the video and subscribe to the SPK and Associates YouTube channel for more of it. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.